Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into another Design 30 podcast episode. This is a little bit different time than usual. Typically, I release these on Monday, Tuesday, beginning of the week. But this is the start of something a little bit different. So I wanted to come up with a little bit better cadence for releasing these. I came up with this idea of coming out with 2 episodes a week on average. The first one will still be on Mondays, and it will be very much focused on design. Going to call that Design More Mondays. So I think that will be very similar to what I've been releasing on Mondays in the past. But on Fridays, I'm thinking about doing this idea of just setting people up to have a good weekend, kind of ending your week on a good note, and just giving you a little bit of positivity heading into the weekend. So I want to do a Despair Less Friday. And I know it doesn't have the same ring to it as a Design More Monday, but a Despair Less Friday, it kind of goes with the tagline, right? Design more, despair less. So I think we're going to stick with that. And this is the very first episode of the the Despair Less Friday. So we're going to give it a shot. Let me know what you think. As always, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, follow on X. This will always be posted first. The video at least will always be posted first on X. So if you want to get it early, if you want to get it right away, that is where you need to be. And then, of course, the podcast will be released everywhere you can find podcasts and on YouTube. So for this very first episode of a Despair Less Friday, I want to talk about a conversation I had a few weeks ago. I just listened to an episode of Impact Theory by Tom Bilyeu, who, yes, we have the same last name. It's not a common last name, but we are not related. As far as I'm aware, I don't think we're related at all. Maybe somewhere way back there. Who knows? But I was listening to an episode of Impact Theory by Tom Bilyeu, who I'd highly recommend. Go check him out. You can also follow him on X, podcast, YouTube, all the things. But he was talking about what's the future of labor with robots, right? We've probably all seen a lot in the news the last month or so, a lot about these Tesla Optimus robots, which are absolutely incredible. There was that big Tesla unveiling party, I don't remember what they called it, where they showed the Cybercab and they had a bus, I think, and then they also had these Optimus robots just walking around. And there's some people saying that, they were being remotely controlled. I don't know about all that, but I do know that those robots were very, very impressive. Kind of creepy, but also very impressive. They were pouring drinks. They were having conversations with people. So I think this stirred up a lot of just conversation, and some people were kind of worried and freaked out by it. But Tom Bilyeu was talking about this and the idea of these robots taking specific jobs, taking simple jobs. Like at the event, they were pouring drinks. So could they be bartenders? Could they work in the food service industry? Could they potentially build things? Could they be laborers, work in these big industrial complexes and just, cranking out all sorts of products? So Tom Bilyeu was diving into this, and I was kind of talking through it with my friend on the phone, kind of going through what he had talked about. It's a good way to process, right? And just kind of think through the episode. And as Tom Bilyeu was going through and discussing how really what this is going to do is it's going to drive down a lot of costs. Because just think about it, if these robots are only $30,000 to buy, somewhere around there, that's way less than you're paying people to work. That's way less than you're paying your average laborers, especially in the United States, per year. So they could easily replace people if they can do the same work. And now you have people who can work 24 hours. They don't need health insurance. Yes, they're going to need some maintenance, going to need an oil change, who knows. But you don't have to pay for all this overhead. and they can work 24 hours and they can work on the weekends, right? Without getting into any sort of labor laws or anything like that. So what's this going to do on the economic side of things? It's going to drive costs way down. It's actually going to make products much cheaper. And so it's going to potentially cause your dollar to go a lot farther, which could be very beneficial. And so as I was talking through this with my friend, it kind of dawned on me even more like, wait a second, I think there's even more that is potentially going to come out of this. And so just kind of playing this idea forward of, okay, we've got robots, they're very human-like. It looks like they can do a lot of the things humans can do. What are all the different things that humans do right now that these robots could potentially replace that would be beneficial, to people all over the world? And then my mind went to, well, there's a lot of people in bad situations who are either not being paid or barely being paid just enough to live, to work. So it's essentially these slave laborers all around the world, because that is how companies can produce products very cheaply or much cheaper and then sell them on the other side of the globe to people who actually have the ability to buy these products. So these people who are going to these locations and using this cheaper labor, the goal, right? It's, kind of one of the potential downsides to capitalism. The goal is to drive your costs down. And so to do that right now, there's times when you can take advantage of people and either get them in a situation where they have to work or they have to work to make enough money just to survive. And so you can kind of undercut the prices because they're not making money anywhere else. So they have to work for you, or they're just purely slave labor, right? So with these robots, those companies could actually spend, it's a little bit more money upfront potentially, but now you have labor, you have people who are able to build these products without any cost other than maintenance, right? Without any cost, without any overhead, and also without any of the stigma, which is obviously a very good thing, but there's a lot of stigma now around these different products that are made in China and in different countries that we all say, is this made by slave labor? And we kind of joke about it, but there's actually a lot of truth in it. And it's something that is a huge problem. So what these companies could do is, if they move towards buying more of these robots who will be able to produce the products for even cheaper, potentially even be better at building them, depending on what the product is and how good these robots get, you could actually be way more efficient, spend much less money, and now you don't have this marketing nightmare of trying to, tell people that you're ethically sourcing all of your products. It would be obvious. You could even just show videos of all your robots working on your manufacturing floor, and it would be a very positive thing, and it would drive prices down. The other thing it would do, or the other way that these robots taking over a lot of these labor jobs could reduce slave labor around the world, is now, if you're an American company, you could just buy these robots and just build it in the US, right? And that is pretty crazy, because now you can say it's built, designed, built, sourced, everything in the US, which is a huge selling point for companies, obviously, in the United States. So there's a lot of ways where this could lead to some really good things and reduce a lot of suffering and a lot of people just being taken advantage of around the world. So I think it's something that on the surface can be very frightening, can be very creepy. And of course, there's challenges associated with it, right? If there's less jobs for people still need jobs to make money. Even if the price of goods goes down on average, you still need to make money to be able to buy even cheap. Even if the goods are cheap, you still need to buy it. So there's still going to be issues surrounding what people will do for labor, how they will make their money, what the economy is going to be driven by. And so you as an individual, you need to think about, okay, what would the future look like with a lot of these labor jobs no longer an option? And how can you develop yourself in into the person, into that skilled thought leader, designer, high level architect. What can you do that is something where you can use your abilities as a human to take advantage of the technology that exists at that time, and to not be overrun, not to be pushed out of work, not to become what would be the right word? Not to become someone who doesn't provide value, right? So you need to figure out all these different ways that you can still provide value as a human, because it might still be a ways out, but it is going to happen where these robots, these Optimus, Tesla bots, whatever they're called, they're going to be taking a lot of these different jobs right now, and it's going to change things quite a bit. So instead of worrying about it, instead of despairing over it, just think through the potential positives. There's going to be some good things coming out of it, and how can you as an individual adapt to it? So that's my little thought for the weekend, some positivity of some of the good that's going to come out of this. You may have seen I wrote an article about this, posted on X and Substack, as well as on Medium. And so you can go and find that and give it a read, comment it, share it. If you disagree with me, put that in the comments. I want to hear other people's thoughts. That is always very fun and something that is very worthwhile. So there it is for this Friday. This one's coming out a bit late. Hopefully in the future, these episodes will be coming out in the morning, and kind of just setting up your Friday for success, putting you in a good mood, a little bit of positivity. So this has been a Despair Less Friday, and it's part of the Design 30 podcast. As always, remember, design more, despair less, and thank you so much for listening and for watching.